At the University of Arizona BIO5 Institute, we are focused on tackling complex challenges such as disease, hunger, water and food safety, and other health and environmental issues facing our families, communities, and the world. BIO5 brings together hundreds of multifaceted experts that include world-class scientists, engineers, physicians, and computational researchers in a team science environment designed to creatively solve difficult problems. This approach has resulted in disease prevention strategies, promising new therapies, innovative diagnostics and devices, and improved food crops. Join us each week as we talk about science with researchers, staff, and students from the University of Arizona's BIO5 Institute.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Science Talks, a conversation hosted by the University of Arizona's BIO5 Institute. My name is Sean Caden.
And I'm Dr. Brittany Ullorn.
And at the BIO5 Institute, it's our mission to engage and support the next generation of scientists. We do this by providing them with the resources they need to succeed. Today, we're talking with Dr. Michael Johnson, Assistant Professor of Immunobiology and a BIO5 member. Dr. Johnson is actively providing opportunities for students and early career professionals through several mentoring and fellowship programs, both at our university and beyond. Dr. Johnson, it's so great to have you with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So 2019 seems like a long time ago.
So long ago.
A few things have happened. It was your brainchild to launch the BIO5 Postdoctoral Fellowship. And we've been fortunate enough to have some of the 2021 BIO5 postdocs, two-time award winner, Dr. Catherine Rhodes, and Dr. Robert Jackson as part of our interview process. And it's great to hear what their thoughts are on being a postdoc awardee and becoming a new researcher and all the things that entails. So talk a little bit about your thought process going into providing this kind of opportunity for postdocs.
So I know that when I was a graduate student, I had a committee, and that was kind of the committee that kind of made or broke me as far as whether or not I passed or not. But they were supposed to be, what that committee is really supposed to be is a mentoring committee for your science and hopefully for career development as well. And I talked to a lot of people when I was a graduate student on, how to move forward, to get to the next step, to, become a PI or maybe something different. It settled on a PI. Well, not really settled, but, I'm happy to be here.
Yes.
But, then, I went to my postdoc at St. Jude and, a lot of things happened. And, it's almost like when you're a postdoc, you're a mercenary. It's the wild, wild west. There's not really there's not as much structure as there was when you were a graduate trainee. And then, you move past that stage and you end up being a PI. And all of a sudden now as a PI, I have a mentoring committee again that helps me go up for tenure and people, who will help me write grants. And I'm just like, wait a minute, like, what about this middle? What about this step that was kind of in the middle? I wrote an NIH fellowship when I was in a postdoc. I didn't get it. Got pretty decent scores both times, but didn't get it. And you're supposed to have like mentoring for that, right? And I'm just like, why should you only need mentoring when you're really, trying to go for this very, very specific grant? And even then, it's just kind of like you and your mentor. And sometimes you have like some random person, if your mentor is super junior, like, mine was, or like, I am when people from my laboratory apply. But that was really it. It was like your mentor, like one random person that you promised to meet with, maybe quarterly. And that's really, that's really it. I'm just like, well, that's not really the same level of mentoring I received as a graduate trainee. And nor is it the same level of mentoring I received as a postdoc. But nevertheless, I would still benefit from that particular mentorship as a postdoc. And I wish I had it. I wish I did make my network but that was kind of like the first major thing that went into the BIO5 Postdoctoral Fellowship idea, saying we can incorporate mentorship into this particular award. Now, the second thing was something called the Matthew effect, right? So I don't know if you know about the Matthew effect, but it's basically, once you start getting money, more people will give you money. Like once you get an award, more people will start giving you more awards. And another thing that actually happened to me when I was early in my career is I went up for this award and I was like a runner-up. I was like really close to getting the award. And it was for like this 2 to 3 year fellowship. And I said, wouldn't it have been great if instead of the 2 to 3 year fellowship, you kind of broke it up and helped more people? That way you could support them getting more outside funding. And they were like, yeah, that sounds cool. And then they kept that 2 to 3 year fellowship, and not my idea. So
Bummer.
I was like, okay, now, when I rule the world, I'm going to have a
Mhm.
mentorship thing, and I'm going to, see if I can get people to, pay postdocs. Wait a minute, I don't have any money. How can I actually do
Which
that?
is a challenge.
I mean, yeah, I want to make a postdoctoral fellowship program with what?
Mhm.
Like who?
Mhm.
How do you get funding to do that? Like you can't really go to the NSF, NIH. That had to come from institutional funds. So cue Dr. Barton. I went to her and I said, as I had done in the past, actually, I said, hey, I got a crazy idea. And she's like, what is it this time? Okay. She I think she's been very kind and entertaining some of my wild and outlandish kind of ideas. But this one, she actually said, hey, that's actually a pretty good idea. Let's talk about that. Let's cultivate it. What do you think that would look like? So I wrote up a report, and she came back to me and said, well, here's some money to do it. And I was like,
Wow.
my eyes got big, like, wait, you're giving me this much money to run this program? And like, we can have all these awards and give them out to people. This is awesome.
This is when you and I met.
Yeah.
It was like, here's some money and here's a guy that's going to help you spend the money.
Pretty much. And I'm just kind of like, so now I'm on the hook for running a postdoctoral fellowship program. Had I ever done that? No. Have I ever run a program like that? No. And I'm like basically saying, oh, we can do this, and you and others in BIO5 were just like, wait a minute, like there's all these things that you have to do when money is involved. There's like, well, how are you going to hold people accountable? How are you going to do this? How are you going to do this? I'm like, right. Wasn't having the idea enough? I'm done. See ya.
No. See, this is the thing about BIO5. It's like when you do a really good job about something, you get more work.
It's a compliment. It really is.
It's a compliment. It does may not feel like a compliment, but it's like you have a great idea. So here you go. And we're going to ask a whole bunch of questions and have higher expectations. And from a standpoint of on both sides, like on the financial side, we've been really lucky that the postdocs have taken the idea and have forged relationships with, Dr. Jackson was a great example because he contacted me and said, hey, I want to know how budget works. For the first time ever, somebody's asking me that kind of question. And I was so impressed. I was very impressed with him. And I'm like, absolutely, because we're all here to help. We want these postdocs to succeed. And for people who are curious and they want to know all the different elements, that's what it's like to be a researcher. You need to be able to know all these different things that you probably thought, that's not what I got my PhD in. But if you want to be a researcher running your lab, you have to wear a lot of different hats.
Well, and even just despite all the, logistical challenges maybe on your part, right? Never having run something like this before, not knowing exactly what to do with all this money. I think this program has been immensely successful. We've had, I believe, 24 now funded postdocs. They have gone on to receive other awards. So the Matthew effect is definitely in effect, for lack of better words. And I know they're greatly benefiting from their mentoring, and they're on the right track to whatever career, is next for them, whether that's an academic position, industry, or something else. So I think it's been a really great success so far. And I think we're all excited to see how it grows in the future.
Yeah, I am too. And I think that, you kind of brought up a very good point saying that a lot of them have gotten awards, more funding going on to different positions. And, whenever you give somebody money, you do it for a specific purpose. If I am investing in something with my money, then I'm doing it because I want that thing to grow. But, you know, but there's also I'm investing my money because I want to see a good return on my investment, right? And I think for this particular program, I think we've been very fortunate in having both. You know, I think the university has gotten a great return on its investment with, you know, some of the indirects that people have gotten for their new grants and awards that, you know, in one particular example, somebody, you know, they submitted an award and they said, well, it'd be great if you had more institutional support or more preliminary data. This fellowship helped them get that data, and then they got the award. So I mean, like you see it, you know, very sequentially on how this particular program can really aid postdocs here at U of A, which is I'm just very happy to even be a part of it.
Well, we are very grateful you started it.
The driving force in it, really, because I mean, it does take somebody to have an idea, but the fact that when we started asking you for assistance on helping us keep that idea moving forward, you returned our phone calls and our emails. So we appreciate that too, because there's a lot of people that could have the idea and then say, oh man, let somebody else do it. But you've been the point person on that. And for that, we're very thankful for this partnership, for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you see something that you really want done, right? Like you have an inkling, like if you want to do something, you know, even if it's like at your house, it's like, man, you know, it would be really good, some spaghetti. And you have in your kitchen some noodles, some, you know, ground beef, some tomato sauce. You have all the ingredients, but you're like, I'm going to order a burger. Like, it's like, you know, but what you really want is, you know, so this program is like something that I really wanted. And I had a hunger for actually making it work and, you know, seeing it to the end. And just like, well, are you ever really happy if you get a burger and you really want spaghetti? No, you get that, you know, you make the spaghetti, you add your seasoning, you know, you do the Salt Bay thing, and you eat and you're all happy. And you know, it makes you feel better that you contributed something that you had a vision for and that you didn't stop short. And to be able to have that vision materialize with the support of the BIO5 has been, it's been great. I mean, it really means a lot to me to be able to kind of see things like that through and really help those postdocs on the back end.
Well, I want to talk about another vision of yours. So the BIO5 Postdoctoral Fellowship is not your only brainchild.
No.
Last summer, you and another BIO5 member, Dr. David Baltras, teamed up with Dr. Jennifer Gardy at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to launch what you all call the Microbial Matchmaking Program, or the National Summer Undergraduate Research Project, lovingly known as NSURP. So tell us more about what this program is and where the idea came from when you launched it last year.
Sure. This was another one of those, imagine now running a program like this, but now without funding, right? And this was kind of like the next challenge, if you will. So undoubtedly, COVID stopped a lot of things, right? And one of the things that they put a stop to were summer research programs. And a lot of undergraduates use those summer research programs as the basis for applying to graduate school or getting, you know, graduate training, or at least going to a post-bac program. It's basically a stepping stone for them getting to get into a STEM field. Now, a lot of these summer research programs, just due to you know, general access and, you know, opportunities that other people have had, are really focused on helping people who are underrepresented in STEM. And that can either be ethnicity or race, that could be first gen, that can be a lot of different factors. So you have that kind of going on. And, you know, I had like a summer student who I was working with, and, you know, she was supposed to come here, and I was like, oh no, and, you know, and I met her at the annual biomedical conference for minority students, which is AberCAMS last year. And I was like, you have to work in my lab. And I was very excited to have her, but she couldn't come here. And I was just like, that's kind of was, you know, the initial spark for, you know, like, this is a need right now. So the other thing that was happening was there were a lot of racial tensions that were happening in the U.S. Last spring, and it has a way of eating at you in some very negative manner, and it just, there's confusion, there's fear, there's anger, there's a lot of emotions that just run through all of those things that you see on the news. And those things start to take over some of the space in your brain for doing science or doing other things until you find some kind of outlet to release that energy and kind of like have something that that you can at least change that negative energy into something positive. So on June 2nd of last year, I said, wouldn't it be cool if we could have some kind of matchmaking thing for people who are missing out on opportunities, to mentors? Now, I just randomly talked to Jennifer Gardy, like for the first time ever. And we had talked for like an hour, and because she asked me to be on like some committee for American Society for Microbiology. And I said, I'm not really going to be able to do that for the next year because I'm going up for tenure. By the way, I have this really crazy idea that I want to run by you. She was I was like, what if we could kind of like match people together to do these research opportunities, and it would be virtual? And she's just like, that sounds awesome. And I talked to Dave Baltris, and we kind of, went about it. And so 2 days later, we had our first meeting. 5 days later, I bought the website and we had it populated.
Wow.
So by June, let's see, what is that? June 13th or June 14th. I forget which one it is. That's when we went live with our application portal, and me kind of giving a message to people saying, we want buy-in from your community. If you're saying that you're an ally, then help this population of students get research opportunities.
So 11 days later, and you have, wow.
So we're like, if we help 20 people, that's cool, right? We're and we're like, it's already, we're already really into the summer. So I'm like, well, we need to have this application portal open for like 5 days and then match over the weekend and then start it on the following Monday. We were insane. So I'm like, okay, we can do that with like 20 or so people. We can do that. Okay. But the first day, like we had like 50 applications. The second day we had like 50 more applications. And by the end of that week, June 19th, which happened to be my 15th wedding anniversary, we had somewhere around 250 applications and 100 mentors sign up. And wow. Again, that was insane. It's like, what have I done? It's like, well, we can have like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to match? So we had like try to match people by interest, by time zones. We were up into the wee hours of the morning, try to match people's, likes and dislikes, with people. And, so our first cohort was, 132 or something like that. I targeted it first for BIPOC, but opened it up for Latinx as well, because we just had that many mentors who bought into it, right? And this was for microbiology. That was kind of the discipline. I'm glad I didn't open it up to any other disciplines, because
you would have been swamped with requests.
Yeah, swamped indeed. So middle of the summer, we had another cohort come in, midway. So we had a total of 250 underrepresented minority undergraduates, all doing virtual research with a mentor, about 170 or 180 different mentors. Some mentors had more than one student. By the end of the summer, we had them do some presentations. So on our website, we have about 170 out of the 250 people that participated did a presentation, and we were able to give them kind of like $100 awards for like the top 12 or top 15 presentations. We had an essay contest, because which, how can you it was like the John Lewis essay contest, basically, using his principles to, how would you use, his life to inspire change in STEM. We gave away fold scopes, which are these like citizen science microscopes, got people memberships to ASM so they could go to the ASM micro meeting. Some of the people ended up going to different conferences like Abercamps the next year and getting poster and presentation awards, which was also nice. And then it was just kind of like, wow, that was great. And then people start asking, are you going to do it again? Are you going to do it again? And I'm like, do you realize that we did this whole thing on a budget of like $3,000 from literally community and personal donations? The person that we had who was helping us a little bit with administration is now gone. I will be going up for tenure, and like I won't have like with what time? But it was one of those things where it's just like, for something like this, for the amount of people that we help, you have to make time. So in January, it was nice. Well, actually February, it was just kind of like, you know, I have that, I have it in my talk. If you ever seen Endgame, when it's like on, you know, when Captain America standing there, it's like on your left and all of a sudden the portals open. Well, that's kind of what happened with people wanting to give me money for this program. You know, like, you know, the REIR from REII, you know, for 50 grand here. The Provost Award for 128, you know, grand to help me have an admin so I don't lose my mind in emails from 250 undergrads and, you know, like that many mentors as well. And then the NSF came through with a rapid award for about 200 grand so now we can pay the students in the program. Last year we didn't pay them, so this year we're paying them for 8 weeks full time. We also added computational immunology as a discipline so that we can kind of, you know, so that we can grow. And, you know, we had a really successful, a lot of people actually applied to the program. We're, you know, did some matching, and we're ready for this. We're ready for NSURP 2021 to really take off.
Yeah, it's incredible to hear about all the support that you're getting to continue this program and expand it, and to be able to provide these students with even more benefits and opportunities than your first cohorts got. It's just amazing.
Well, the ability to, we're going to have hopefully, we have about 50 students in the program. We're still kind of waiting for some last minute matches to, you know, people to agree and all that kind of thing. But yeah, we're happy to be able to say we can pay them full time for the 8 weeks. So that, you know, and again, while everybody else will hopefully, you know, go back to in person, the mission of this program is to actually stay virtual. When we did this program, it was to like help people who missed out on programs. But when we did a survey after the first year, the thing that we found out was 33% of the people in the program would not have been able to travel in the first place. And an additional 25% were unsure. So when everything goes back to normal, they're still going to be left out. So our mission is to stay virtual and help those particular students so that they can achieve their dream on a career in STEM.
And, you know, I feel like when I'm listening to you talk, you should probably, whenever you start a sentence off with, I have this crazy idea, you should think about how much time you have to fit in more crazy ideas. Because it sounds like, I mean, they're brilliant ideas, but unfortunately, it's like, man, it's like no good deed goes unpunished, you know. Let me just say thank you for being that person out there who cares about mentorship. Mentorship is really, really important. And I think I've even from a financial perspective, when the postdocs reach out to me, I try to remember that anybody can provide mentorship. Mentorship is something that, you know, you're just trying to guide people, keep them on a good path and make them feel like they're supported. And that's, I mean, like we said in the intro, that's what we're here to do. We're here to support research. We're here to support the researchers, and we want to make sure their experiences continues positive, because it's not easy.
Definitely not easy.
It's not easy at all. Well, I wanted to ask you, I know we're a little pushed for time here, but I did want to ask you real quick. I know you have a really strong social media presence, and I've been on your Twitter feed, and I'm killing him with copper. I probably that's for a later conversation, but I did appreciate that little. I was like, is that killing me softly with copper, or is that it killing hard? I don't know. Well, we don't need to go into that, but this is one thing I often think about. It's like, from a mentorship perspective, when it comes to social media, do you do you give anybody advice on, on how to use social media as a platform, how to get, like you were saying earlier, some of that angst and negative energy, and give it a space so that, we shine a light on areas where, this isn't right. And we want to make sure that people understand, this is my perspective, and this isn't right. And this is why I think it's not right. And where are the advocates who want to come together and try to help fight against injustice?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I tell people for social media. It's weird because, in this day and age, everybody can have a voice, right? And everybody can have a voice about anything that they kind of want to talk about, whether or not they're qualified or not, which is also a topic for another day. But at least with, you have the freedom to share things, on these social media platforms, but you also, one of the things that you don't have is freedom from judgment of some of the things that you say. So I do tell people, I'm saying, look, you can feel free to be you, but know that, when I look up somebody, I look at everything I can find about them. And if they have a social media presence and their social media presence is good, that's a point. But if I find that they're, talking trash about everybody, then maybe that's not a good thing,
Right.
So, freedom from, freedom of speech is not freedom from judgment, which is like the first thing that I tell people with their social media accounts. And also, it's like, there's no need to repeat something that has been said or beaten to death by so many other people. Like, if, make sure that you're positively adding to the conversation. If you're going to shed light on something, then, shed light, give some information about it so that people can actually make informed decisions. Memes aren't always the way to go when trying to disseminate information. Right. Citing sources is important, especially as, being a scientist. That's something that we try and push. I mean, the occasional meme, and my gift game's on point, but like right. You have to be able to cite your source there. But going to the heart of your question, sometimes you do have to choose your battles, and in that, sometimes that means turning it off so that you don't continuously doom scroll for various things. And, sometimes you need to take a break, and that's absolutely positively fine. So I guess those are kind of the things that, that I do try and tell people. And, like, it's what Science Twitter, at least for me, is supposed to be a community of support. So let's do our best to make it that. I mean, all the mentorship ideas that I have in the BIO5 Postdoctoral Fellowship program, the NSURP, all of those mentorship ideals can be I would want to be distilled in this particular platform. So let's use it for that instead of all the negative crap that could actually really, that does happen on the platform. Right. Let's use it as a tool for our bidding and not as a tool for negativity.
Yeah, I think those are fantastic suggestions. I know myself personally and professionally as a communicator, I found that it's important to use social media with intention and with purpose. And so if we can all use it to educate and uplift and bring something new, then I think it can be beneficial. But yeah, it's just about making sure you're being intentional about what you are saying. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that.
Not a problem.
Thank you again, Dr. Johnson, for talking with us today. We are really excited to hear more about how this summer's NSURP program goes, and we will be excited to meet the new class of postdoctoral fellows coming up in the next year. So thank you again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Johnson.
Again, thanks for having me. And I will say, if you want more information about the NSURP program, if you visit nsurp.org, we have all that information present on how you can also be a supporter of the program.
Perfect. And we will be sure to put the link below for anybody who wants to check out the site and support the program. So thank you to all of our listeners for joining us on another episode of Science Talks. For more information about the BIO5 Institute, please visit our website at bio5.org. And from all of us at the BIO5 Institute, we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
To our audience for tuning in to another episode of Science Talks. Continue the conversation with us next time as we learn more about the science happening at the University of Arizona's BIO5 Institute.